another thing I thought about before starting the channel was like, I've seen so many scary movies. I'm not going to jump scare. Like these people are going to be like let down because I'm rock solid. These jump scares aren't going to get me. But what I realize is I'm so used to watching either movies with people or with the lights on or just, on the TV. But when you're sitting down and locked in with the headphones, it's a whole different experience.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Reactorverse Podcast. We're back after taking a little bit of a week off last week, and we're officially kicking off spooky season. I think is now the time. It's mid-September, so I'm calling it. It's time to get into it. I'm here with one of my favorite horror reactors on YouTube. It is Chance from his channel. Chance is House of Horror. Chance, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, like I said, it's I think the Halloween season, we can officially start celebrating, start setting up our pumpkins and decorations, and I figured now's a good time to have you on to sort of like commemorate that, get into the vibe of the year.
Yeah, definitely my favorite time of the year. I'm excited. Of course, one of the most important things, candy, of course, so I'm looking forward to that.
Right, absolutely. And beyond that, there's really no rhyme or reason how I sort of, pick people to come on. It's usually due to timing and scheduling, stuff like that. But I will admit, you sort of jumped to the front of the line over this summer because I, noticed that you reacted to two of my favorite horror movies of the last, decade or so, which is Deadstream and Rec 2.
Yes, you're a fan of Deadstream.
I was just going on a binge trying to find, people who react to it. I bang a gong every year to all the reaction channels I know. Like, please watch Deadstream. Please watch it. I think everyone would get a kick out of it. And I saw you had it on the channel, and so I watched that and got through the library you have on the channel, and wanted to have you on today just to sort of talk about that experience.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, oh my God, I love Deadstream. That is even as a fan of I've before reacting, I was a fan of reaction. So the moment I saw that, I was on YouTube searching, and I'm telling all the reactors, like, you guys have to check this out. It's so good.
Yeah. Every year I'm like, please react to it. Please, got to get more people on it. But yeah, just to go over your, time with the channel, you're a what I call a specialty reactor. You have a very, specialized interest of, a specific genre or product or IP that you watch on the channel, which is horror. And so you have, extensive horror library through that. I want to kind of go over your journey with that, off and on camera. Usually we start at the beginning with these things. And so for you, obviously horror is a staple of your time with the channel. What is your sort of background with TV and film, and I guess horror specifically, just growing up?
Yeah. Actually, I grew up on horror. My mom was a huge horror fan, so I was watching horror at an age that I shouldn't have been watching it. Like 4 or 5 years old is like the earliest I can at least remember watching horror movies. So she was just a huge horror fan, the classics. I was born in '85, so around the time I was born, I was watching the Nightmare on Elm Streets, the Jasons, the Evil Dead, Chucky, all that kind of stuff. So horror was really a part of my life, an important part of my life growing up, all throughout. So yeah, I've always just been a huge fan of horror, and the great thing about that is that there's so much horror out there that before I started my channel, I wasn't sure if I could do a horror reaction channel. I was like, I've seen so many horror movies. I've seen a lot of the classics, but then when I started, I realized there's a lot I haven't seen, and there's even a lot of classics I haven't seen. So that was really fun to discover.
Yeah, it's a big landscape. You think you have a handle on it, and then it's like, man, there's still so much out there.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, when you were growing up with it, do you recall any point in your life where you realized, horror, was not just a interest, but a genuine passion of yours?
I would say probably in my teens when I started collecting physical media seriously and watching the behind the scenes and learning how they would make this stuff. Because, you grow up watching it for so long, and then you start getting interested, like, I wonder how they did that. I wonder how they made this look the way, what is, the whole behind the scenes for all of that. So I would get as many DVDs as I could, and just, the special editions, anything that had the behind the scenes on there. And I would just comb through all of those and just get sucked into the documentaries, how they did it, how everything came about. And that's when I really knew that I pretty much had a passion for movies in general, film in general, but especially horror movies. I knew that was always going to guide me through life and sort of what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be.
Absolutely, yeah. And yeah, horror is definitely one of those genres that it really invites the viewers to dissect it and to like appreciate how it's made.
Yes.
I think it's just because of the natural element of like, so you see someone's head get blown off, you're like, obviously that's not real. So I'm curious, how do they do it? So
Why
yeah,
does it look real?
yeah, exactly. Did you have any creative outlets to share with your love of horror? Early on prior to the channel, did you go to like conventions or any other kind of events to like sort of talk about that with other people?
Not really. I mean, it was mainly my friends because my friends would come over as well growing up. Since my mom would allow me to watch horror movies, they would all come over and we would watch horror movies. So
Right.
I had some close friends that I'm still close with today that I would sort of talk about horror with, but nothing really outside of that.
Mhm.
Not even conventions. I just recently started going to a horror convention. This was my fourth year that I just went. So I started about a year before the channel, I think.
Mhm.
A year before I started the channel. And that's been really fun. I've been really enjoying that experience. But yeah, before that I didn't really have much of an outlet for horror. So this was a really cool way starting the channel for me to sort of share my love and experience with horror.
You started getting into it. You mentioned, being aware of like the reaction, video stuff like that. I guess how savvy were you with the reaction format prior to even starting the channel?
I was really deep into like consuming reactions for about 3 to 4 years at that point.
Hmm.
So I was already interested in the makings of reaction. So I would always dive deep into all that stuff. So I had a pretty good grasp on reactions. It wasn't like I was like, what's this reaction thing? Let me try this. I
Right.
already known about it for a while. So it wasn't too hard going into it, especially because I did have some editing experience before. So going into it wasn't too hard. It was more so just getting myself on camera because I'm a super shy person
Right.
and usually sometimes quiet unless like I know the person. So that was the hardest part for me was like, okay, you can do this. You can put yourself on camera. Don't
Right.
be nervous. That was the tough part for me.
Yeah, yeah. It can be scary at first to get started when you're had to put
Oh
yourself
yeah.
out there. And you started with season 2 of the Chucky TV series. And you had mentioned in the video that you're a massive fan of Child's Play. I know you got the tattoo
Oh
on
yeah.
there. um, and so you had watched the first season already. You get into the second season. Do you recall what it was like sitting down for that first reaction? And do you think it helped at all to start with an IP that you were pretty familiar and comfortable with?
Yes, actually, because I think definitely even still to this day, there are times where I'm sort of hesitant going into a certain beloved series or reaction, especially if it's like very elevated or something that has a lot of twists and stuff like that. It's like, am I going to
Right.
see things coming? Am I going to be able to break down these larger themes? So going into Chucky was very easy and familiar because, like I said, I grew up on Chucky, been watching Chucky pretty much my whole life. Outside of Freddy Krueger, Chucky's my favorite. So
Right.
that also being just the tone of the show, being very fun and campy, which is also my favorite kind of tone to watch. It definitely helped settling into being more comfortable on camera. Because I think I even did a couple movie reactions before starting that, if I remember. And that was definitely a little like not talking as much, sort of just being reserved. But I think hopping into Chucky season 2 definitely helped with sort of being more comfortable with my personality and who I am.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Because I like you said, it's tough to find that level of comfort and confidence within yourself when you're starting out because you want to feel like do I have something articulate to say to like can I express my thoughts properly, and were
Yes.
there any sort of significant learning curves like that getting started, again, the performative nature of it but also the technical side of things of just setting up the camera and editing and lighting and stuff like that?
Yeah, I was actually very like, I'm gonna plan this. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna do everything like that I need because I think because of watching the reactions beforehand for so long and like kind of knowing how I wanted things to look and turn out. And just I went on YouTube basically and searched up like what kind of camera do I, as far as like budget wise, what kind of light, what can I get for a budget that will help me start the channel. And after
Right.
just researching all that, I think I just like decided at the beginning of the summer, okay, I'm going to start the channel by October. And I started October 8th in 2022 is when I started. So it was really just that like figuring out the equipment and figuring out like I knew how to edit, but not reactions as far as how much you can keep in. And I'm not gonna lie, it was really hard to find help online as far as like reactions and how you should edit them. And I ended up coming across Natalie Gold, and
Hmm.
she actually put out a video that explained exactly how she did her edits, how much to keep in, and stuff like that. So her video helped me out a lot with realizing, oh, okay, I can only have so much seconds before I have to, cut away from the footage to cut to me to some
Yeah.
commentary, and that's what really helped me.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough because it is still a little bit of a wild west with the format in terms of figuring
Yeah.
out like how much, like, and it's not universal. Like some channels can get away with a little more, some can like do a little less. It's a weird algorithmic thing. Like the channels get like bigger restrictions on them for some arbitrary reason. So
It's
it,
very weird. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's definitely hard to figure out for your own taste.
Yes.
And as I mentioned before, you reacted to one of my favorite horror films of the last decade, Deadstream. That was I think your first movie reaction I could find on the channel at least. And it's funny because that movie is so ingrained in YouTube culture and it's like tropes of the found footage genre that
Yeah.
I always hope that people are pretty savvy to it so they can understand the humor and sort of like what subversions are going on with it. And I think you're prepared for that because you're such a lifelong horror fan. I guess what was it like starting that channel with the one of your first early movie reactions on the channel? Again, like in terms of like the articulation and just like breaking down the sort of deconstruction of it. Like I guess what was that experience like?
Yeah, I think that was also another one that really helped me relax and sort of get into it because it was such a I didn't know what to expect going in, and it was such a fun movie that really just pulled me in so much. It was really easy for me to sort of break everything down and just feel comfortable enough to where I could say what's on my mind and break down what I think is happening.
Hmm.
But yeah, as far as like the found footage, I've seen plenty of found footage before, but also I think it was the streamer aspect side of it, having
Right.
watching YouTube for so long and seeing the different sides of YouTubers, from the good to bad, sort of play out in this movie, I thought was just so brilliant. I think anyone who spent a little bit of time on YouTube will recognize some traits in the main character that we've seen in certain, streamers
Yeah.
online. So I think that that plus the found footage and the tone of the movie, especially playing off things like Evil Dead, which is one of the first horror movies I saw,
Right.
really made it feel like it was a horror movie for me. And that made it
Exactly.
a lot easier to sort of things down and give my feelings on it and just sort of be myself during that reaction, which was a lot of fun. I think that was one of the ones that really helped me settle into future reactions as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, it's something I wish more people would react to because, like you said, it's so appealing to people who work on YouTube. Like, yeah, obviously, there's going to be a lot that you see in yourself and others, stuff like that. So, I really hope that more people can latch onto it as time goes on.
Yeah, yeah, I hope so too. And also, I think one of the things I really loved about it too is it's an indie movie. It's a guy and his wife, Joseph and Vanessa Winter.
Hmm.
They're a couple that writes and directs their movies together. And so as soon as I saw that, I've just been following their career. Like I'm checking every month, like they got
Yeah.
something new coming out yet because their work is just wonderful.
I know they're doing the Evil Dead Rise, not Evil Dead Rise. Sorry, the Amityville, the new Amityville film that's going to be
That's
coming out
right.
over the next couple of years. So
Yeah,
I'm
I did
excited
forget.
to
Yeah, they
see,
did just get announced recently.
yeah, what they could do with that. I'd be really excited to see that.
Oh yeah.
And as we mentioned, genre plays into such a specific aspect of the channel and your appreciation of the films that you're watching, and you're pretty keenly prepared to break down these things because you have a lot experience with horror, and it does invite people to sort of look at the production of it and appreciate how is this done, how are the VFX done, how are the special practical effects done, how is the shot framed, how is like all this stuff done, and how do you feel your background with horror informed your reactions getting into them and how you process the films that you're watching?
I think it's mostly a lot of, as I mentioned earlier, when I was a teen, watching the behind the scenes and really seeing the makings of how they do a lot of this stuff. I really got into practical effects because of that. So I think just being such a lifelong fan and really digging into those behind the scenes really sort of helps give me some insight into what might be going on, especially with these days, even just with the story and tropes. A lot of these days it's either meta or
Right.
subversive, breaking things down, flipping things on its head. So that helps. Well, I think like a lot of younger people these days, they might see these subversive things, but it might not be subversive or different for them because they didn't grow up on the originals.
Right.
So I feel like I can sort of provide something since I'm a lot older from the older movies and sort of give my insight on how things were and and how they're sort of flipping these things around and changing things for a fresh new take. But yeah, that plus like the behind the scenes, and I've always been a fan of just YouTube channels who either break down stuff, whether it be stories and themes or
Mhm.
special effects. You know, uh, just my extensive love for wanting to learn more and find out about how a movie was made, I think definitely really helps with how I bring what I bring to the table as far as horror reactions go.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. It's helpful, I think, from just a viewer standpoint to have that barometer of how things were made and how you can like sort of like pinpoint that within a reaction. It just helps with the, I think the commentary of it at least to talk about things, and keep the edit flowing once you're
Yeah, yeah, and
on the
especially, I
phone.
mean, I'm still learning stuff from I've while I grew up on horror, I never really went past the 80s. I was always 80s and up. So I
Mhm.
didn't really get to see a lot of 70s horror. So doing the channel now and getting the chance to watch 70s horror, I'm even learning some things like, oh, the movies that I thought might have started a trend or started a certain thing actually came before in these other movies. So it's also been
Right.
a learning experience for me, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, you stated in the early, I think the first video on the channel that you didn't want to just watch the trendy stuff. You didn't want to watch just the new stuff. You wanted to take this as an opportunity to explore, the whole genre and
Yeah.
stuff that you hadn't seen, even in classics stuff like that. And it's a big landscape. Do you recall what that initial rollout strategy was when you started the channel in terms of like what you wanted to watch and how you wanted to approach what you put on the channel?
Yeah, so essentially, like I said when I first started, I was like, I don't know. I was like, maybe I can sustain this channel for a year or two, and then maybe I'll have to do other genres. But then I just started going online and looking up, classic horror movies or some of the best horror movies. I went on Letterbox and just started adding to my list on things that I hadn't seen.
Mhm.
And then as it went on, I'm like, wow, there is a lot of stuff that I
Yeah.
haven't seen, or there might have been something that like I watched once when I was 5
Right.
and that was it. So I don't even know if I did watch it or not. So there's a lot of older classics that I just never got to see. So really just going through like the different lists, like what are the best slashers? What are the best hunting movies? And I still have a letterbox and it's still like over 500, 700 horror movies I haven't.
Yeah.
So just by doing that, really like go and then trying to mix it up. So it's not like I'm just doing slasher, slasher, slasher. I try to mix up the genre, the subgenres a little bit within the horror, and also bounce around the decades as well. Because I've missed so many movies from back to the 50s, 60s, 70s till now, even the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and new ones coming out. So there was definitely I learned really quickly like, oh no, I have a lot of horror movies that I need to go through. So that was
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun to learn. It actually I was happy to see that. Wow, there's so many horror movies I still get to enjoy because I don't want to see everything and then not have nothing, left to
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah, trust me, you're gonna plenty to watch. I think
Yeah.
until you're done with the channel, whatever. It's
Yeah.
it's an ocean of material to get through. And like you said, it's you can have like a letterbox or like a list of just that's ever growing, and it'll be impossible to kind of catch up because there's so much still coming out. How do you, I guess, once you procure the film of like it's like put on the list and like you could put it in consideration, how do you then sort of like translate that to how does that make its way to the channel? Like, do you do it through polling or through your own sort of consideration of like what fits with like the rotation?
Yeah, it's sort of like a mix. Usually I try to gather a list of like 5 movies that I really want to see, and then I'll let them vote on that. So either way, I'm going to get something that I'm interested in. I try to watch even stuff that I might not have any interest in because I might enjoy it either way. But yeah, usually I'll do like a list of, I'll say, hey, I'm going to do an old slasher coming up soon. Pick one from these old slashers that's your favorite. And I'll usually pick one from the poll on YouTube. But a lot of times, yeah, it's just me going on Letterbox and because I try to make sure I watch something that I'm in the mood for as well. That way I'm giving my best energy and reaction and stuff like that. So depending on how the mood I'm in, I'll go on my letterbox and just sometimes I'll just randomly pick like I'm gonna do this today.
All
And then I'll
right.
just end up reacting to that. But as far as it going on YouTube, yeah, usually I try to do a poll or sometimes I'll just drop it
Yeah, yeah,
without any plan, just
yeah. Just go with
drop
what
it.
you feel.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's important. I think to find a balance between, what does the audience want, what do you want to do, so you can keep it, entertaining for yourself. That helps with the longevity of, just your time with the channel. And another aspect that I feel is really that people get into is like the what I call the reactor trap of like deciding between what's a personal view experience and what can be saved for the channel, particularly with newer films that come out in theaters. I guess, how do you balance the viewing experience for yourself, watching potentially something in theaters or home by yourself, versus trying to save it for the channel?
Unfortunately, I don't think I've seen, at least not, I haven't seen a horror movie for the first time in theaters since I started the channel. I did, gosh, what movie did I get to go see? I reacted to a movie. Oh, it was Final Destination Bloodlines. That was one where I got to react to it when it came on digital, but it was still in theaters. So I
No,
got to
right.
go watch that one afterwards. But as far as horror goes, I save all of it for the channel, but other big movies, like if it's a comic book movie, I'm going to the theater.
Right.
I've seen
Yeah.
that in the theaters. I'm a huge comic book movie fan. Me and my son, we've been watching a lot of the MCU and DC movies in theaters together for years. So
Yeah.
when it comes to that stuff, that's one that like I won't budge on. Like I have to see my Marvel movies and DC
Yeah.
movies in theaters.
Yeah. That's your temple. Yeah, that's your safe
Yeah,
haven.
yeah, that's my tempo for that. But as far as horror goes, it's hard sometimes, but I don't mind waiting.
Mhm.
Uh, Especially these days, it's only like a month and a half at most.
Right.
Back
Yeah.
in the day, we would have to wait like 6 months to get a
Yeah.
DVD or even had streaming. So
That's yeah, that's true. Yeah, especially now with the even when movies performing well, like Sinners this year was obviously a big one, came out pretty quickly on VOD, and that became
yeah,
like a massive one in the reaction space. Like everyone was reacting to it. So yeah, it was really fun to see that. Have you seen a Skinamarink?
yes,
Yeah.
I'm somewhat known for being one of the few people that likes that movie.
Yeah, it's one that I saw in theaters. And it's
Oh,
funny because
really?
yeah, I watched it in theaters when it came out. And I remember watching it and thinking like, man, this like I was engrossed in the theater because like when you're in theater and like it's like dark and just you just have that massive screen in front of you. That movie in particular really pulls you in. And I remember thinking once I was done, I was like, I don't know how well this would translate to like a home viewing experience unless you have like you're sitting 5 feet in front of the TV, the lights are all off, like no cell phone, no nothing. And I think that'd be difficult for people to sort of get the same experience. But that was one I really, really like wish everyone had a chance to see in theaters. 'Cause I think that really elevated the experience overall for that movie.
Oh yeah, I wish I got to see it in theaters. I still, luckily, I did. I think I watched that one in the dark, so I don't even think I had like my lighting set up. I
Yeah.
think I had everything turned off, had my headphones on, and I was, yeah, that movie definitely set me in the mood. That was one that actually, because I feel like there are scary movies where it can be scary because of the subject or because of the jump scares,
Mhm.
but then there's another level of scary where it just sits with you afterwards.
Yeah.
You're constantly thinking about it, whether you're trying to sleep or just do anything. And that's what Skinamarink was for me. Every time, I sleep towards my door and we leave our closet open sometimes. So I'm just, you see in the closet, like, is that
Right.
something in the
Yeah.
dark there?
Yeah, the grainy look, you try to discern what it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I think that movie, again, like what we're talking about, with your history with the genre, is that there are movies coming out now. I think over the last like several years that are, not going just meta, but like really deconstructing the, like idea of what the trope or the genre is. So I think Skinamarink is really that. I think the horror element in that is if you're really used to the jump scare format or like the typical horror format, it throws you on your head because you're like, I don't know what to expect here because it's not doing anything that I'm really familiar or accustomed to. So you start to
Yes.
like get scared because like you're in uncharted territory. And another one similar to that is In a Violent Nature.
That's funny. I was just thinking that.
Yeah, and like that's like again something that I think speaks more to lifelong horror fans that can appreciate what they're doing. They're obviously showing you a deconstruction of the Jason trope, the Michael trope of the slow killer and like what that looks like from like a sort of realistic perspective. So yeah, I think it's interesting that you have the ability to sort of appreciate those things on a certain like larger level because of your lifelong experience with the genre.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, especially that's like I said, I was when you were explaining Cinema Remake, I was going to go to In a Violent Nature as far as another movie like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, yeah, it's unfortunate sometimes, especially with how everything is marketed and trendy and sort of that thing, especially with TikTok and stuff. And some people like, oh, this is a really good scary movie, and then a lot of people might watch it and not really appreciate or get what it's doing.
Right.
and then they just trash it online, so then it just gets thrown to the wayside. But yeah, that was one where I really appreciated that, 'cause, I mean, us growing up, we've seen all the Jasons and all the big slashers, Michaels and
Mhm.
stuff. So seeing it from this perspective, after seeing so many of them, the way we've seen it, I thought was just a lot of fun and very creative, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I love both those films and just like again what they're playing with. And you for yourself, with your time with the channel, you uh are able to over time develop an identity with it, your own sort of like beats and patterns with it. I love when people are able to interject like they're running gags and tropes and stuff like that, and you have things like the jump scare counter, the kill list that you put on up there once in a while. I guess how do those elements help you with your relationship with the videos, and I guess with the viewers as well, and just like defining who you are with your channel.
Yeah, I think it definitely came about because it's actually funny when I started. Another thing I thought about before starting the channel was like, I've seen so many scary movies. I'm not gonna jump scare. Like,
Right.
these people are gonna be like let down because I'm rock solid. These jump scares aren't gonna get me.
Yeah.
But what I realize is I'm so used to watching either movies with people or with the lights on or just on the TV. But when you're sitting down and locked in with the headphones,
Right.
it's a whole different experience. So it came to be that like that was a thing known for me. After a while, it's just like I jump a lot at a lot of jump scares. So I sort of took that and implemented that in my videos with the jump scare counter to sort of see. I figured that would be not only fun for me, or fun for the audience, but fun for me as well.
Yeah.
Just seeing how much a movie can make me jump in a movie, or with the kill list, I may be a little snarky in my reactions, talking about certain characters, especially in horror movies. So that was always that. I don't even remember how I came up with that, but I was just like, I should have a kill list of characters that I think they should not make it through this movie. And add
Yeah.
them on there. But it helped with the like I said, with the audience and just building a community. I think
Mhm.
out of everything in my YouTube journey and where the channel is right now, the thing I'm most happy with and proud of is just the community.
Mhm.
I think we have such a great community full of great people, and they're the ones that really make me feel comfortable enough to be myself. Because when you build a community, you sort of have a face of who you're reacting to. When you first start, you're like, I don't know who's watching.
Yeah.
You're kind of just going off nothing. So building that community definitely really helped um, make it easier to sort of be myself and interject things like that, like the kill list and the jump scare counter.
Yeah, it's important to develop that identity, and let it come naturally. Again, like the jump scare thing is a brilliant idea. The kill list, and I think you should probably like I don't know, maybe at the end of the year do like give us a tally of which movie had the most and stuff like that. I would love to see
I was actually
the
thinking of
results
doing
of
that this year because I wanted to do it last year, but I didn't get a chance to. I'm like, this year, or just like a montage video of all the jump scares to see how many I had throughout the year. But
Yeah,
yeah, that definitely sounds like a lot of fun. I definitely want to do that.
yeah, absolutely. And over time with the channel, how do you feel your own relationship with film and TV and storytelling has evolved, through your reactions and your, opportunity to watch them through this format.
Well, one thing I'll say for sure, at least with horror movies now, since I'm reacting, I'm the kind of person who would love to like read and learn everything about a movie before it comes out.
Mhm.
Even like spoilers, like, oh, what's gonna happen in the I was just like I would get sucked down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But starting this reaction channel, I started slowly like staying away from that from horror movies to where I'm at now, where it's like I won't even watch a trailer for a horror movie. I don't even
Yeah.
like reading the synopsis. I'll just go in completely blind. And I don't think that's something I've ever experienced until I started the channel. Even like probably not till a couple years after the channel when I really started going in blind.
Hmm.
And that's just a whole different experience
Yeah.
for a movie. Like I tell you, like if you guys like just pick a movie that's coming out this year and don't watch any trailers, don't read anything about it, and just go in. And going into a movie without any preconceived notions is such a different thing, and it's a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
think that's definitely changed my view on movies and how I approach them when going. Now it's even bleeding into outside of what I react to. There's sometimes where I'm just like, nope, I've seen the first trailer. That's all
Right.
I need to see, and it just makes the viewing experience that much better in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's something I've noticed as well through reactions. For people who do a really diligent job to stay away from spoilers and away from like any marketing material, is how rich their experience is because they're going to it completely fresh and they get to experience the film the way it's like basically designed to be experienced, which is just that viewing experience. So it's really
Yeah.
interesting to see people get the opportunity. And I guess for yourself, with horror over the time, like, do you have any preference of subgenre that you like more than others? Like, you like slasher, supernatural, found footage, so on.
Yeah, definitely slashers. I've always
Mhm.
been. Maybe it's because like I grew up in the '80s, so
Yeah,
that was the time of slashers. But yeah, as Freddy Krueger being my favorite horror villain, and then right beside Chucky and Jason, Michael and Candyman, like something about the slasher genre that I just find, I don't know, so fun. It's something about somebody, whether it be a person or an entity, just coming after a group of people. Maybe it's nostalgia, maybe it's because it's what I grew up on, but I don't know. Slasher's just always been a genre where I know I can go into the movie and I'm like, gonna at least have fun with it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so yeah, I would definitely say slasher. I've definitely gained a much bigger appreciation for paranormal.
Hmm.
Since I started the channel, I wasn't always a big fan of like haunted houses type stuff. It just never really interested me, and that's part of the reason why I was like, people were asking me to do The Conjuring. I'm like, we'll see. I'll get to it. But watching those first two Conjuring movies and watching some other stuff like Haunting of Hill House and stuff like that, I've become a pretty big fan of paranormal movies recently, which I
Yeah.
never thought I would say. So that's really cool that I've watched horror for so many years, and now starting this channel, I'm getting new appreciation for a genre that so many years I would have just sort of ignored.
Yeah, yeah, and I think there's been, some of a revolution in that sense. I think in the 2010s we got a sort of, big upend on that genre because of I think like The Conjuring. I think played a big role in that and like sort of revitalizing people's interest in like the supernatural subgenre of horror. And then like slashers as well, sort of made a comeback. I think over the last like decade or so. What are your thoughts on, I guess, the evolution of the genre over the last decade with things like, the concept of elevated horror or just new characters like, Art the Clown and the Smiler, the Grabber, and stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I was going to say too, like even I think like one of the also the big shifts to paranormal early on 2000s was when we started to get a lot of Japanese horror remakes.
Hmm.
That's when we
Right.
got to the Ring, the
Right.
Grudge. I think it was called Shutter or the Photo or something
Shutter.
like that.
I remember
Yeah,
Shutter.
Shutter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that like shift into was definitely a huge part of paranormal. But as far as like over the years and like how it's elevated, I feel like there was like a huge, as far as slashers go, there was a huge like 10 years where really we just weren't really getting anything
Hmm.
for slashers, and then out of nowhere just sort of I feel like we're getting a lot of sort of blended genres lately. So we might get a slasher, but it might have a supernatural twist on it or
Hmm.
something else to it.
Yeah.
And I think that the way it's evolved, especially in the past 5 years, I think have been amazing. I think it's still really hard for them to create an iconic slasher villain.
Hmm.
When you think about it, Art and the Grabber, especially Art. I mean, the Grabber he's had one movie, so we'll see
Yeah.
how that continues. But Art the Clown, it's kind of amazing watching all these slashers that have come out over the years, and finally we have one that the people just latch onto, that they want more of. That I don't think I've seen a horror character sort of treated and beloved as Art the Clown is since like some of the originals, really.
Right. Yeah.
And, sometimes where the character becomes bigger than the movie itself. It's, sort of like how Freddy became and how Jason came after a while. So
Yeah.
it's been really interesting to see, and even with sort of this whole requel era, we're
Yeah.
bringing back, like the legacy actors. I know
Yeah.
not a lot of big people have been a fan of that, but I think we've gotten some great stuff out of it. And just to see, I mean, maybe it's just because me, I know I grew up on a lot of these characters and actors. So to see them come back and still have that love for the genre and for, the projects, it's been really cool to see over the years and how it's sort of changed and how they've taken advantage of that.
Yeah, yeah, it's a tricky balance, I think, particularly for people who have been around, with the genre for a long time, as opposed to like like the Gen Z viewers and so on, who are seeing this stuff for the first time and seeing like an actor from 20 years ago come back, and like I don't know how that impacts them as much. I just spoke
Exactly.
I spoke to Caitlin Marie from her channel. She's scared. She hadn't seen the Scream series until her channel over the last few years, and she watched them all in like over a month's and a half span. And she mentioned how that she really loved them, but like she obviously could tell that she did not appreciate the callbacks the same way someone would have if they had watched the series when they came out, 10,
Yeah.
15 years apart. And so like that impacts, I think, the overall experience for someone who watches those films for the first time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's also interesting to watch. To see, I love watching. I think that's what I really started getting into watching reactions is seeing people react to horror movies for the first time, especially old ones.
Right.
Seeing younger people like watch the Friday the 13th franchise for the first time. It's very interesting seeing how they look at those movies, versus how I look at them.
Yeah. Yeah. There are some rose tinted glasses, I think, towards those movies. I think that we
Yeah,
have
yeah.
growing up with them. And do you have any, favorite new names in the genre that you look forward to, in terms of like the filmmakers themselves, the directors or writers that you think are up and coming?
Yes, yes, definitely. Like I mentioned earlier, Joseph and Vanessa Winter. I really want I'm just rooting for them because I've loved what I've seen from them so far. Deadstream
Yeah.
and their segment in VHS 99 was really good. But yeah, outside of that, really, a lot of the ones that a lot of people are interested in. Of course, Jordan Peele. I'm
Mhm.
excited to see what he has. Apparently, I think he has a new horror movie come out next year. Like actually, one that he's directing.
Yeah.
And I love that we never know what his movies are going to be about.
Right.
But yeah, Scott Derrickson, of course, from the Black Phone and the Black Phone 2. I think he's a very interesting director to watch. Fede Alvarez, who did The Evil Dead 2013,
Right.
is one that I really like. And I'm blanking on the name because I'm terrible with names, but the director of Alien Romulus,
That was also Fede Alvarez.
was that Fede Alvarez? Right. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah. So yeah, Fede, but also the director of Evil Dead Rise.
The director of yeah, you're right. Evil Dead Rise was someone else. But
Yes, yes, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Him, I'm also very interested in. The director of Don't Breathe and It Follows 2 coming out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's another person that I have my eye on, and then actors as well. Like Scream Queen Samara Weaving is one that I'll always watch. Like
Yeah.
any movie she's in. Oh, Radio Silence. Radio
Yeah.
Silence. Yes, yes. I love Radio Silence. So anything that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Smart Weaving is definitely like a new modern Screen Queen. I think Micah Monroe's are in that title as well. For
Yes.
It Follows and Long Legs and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
yeah, she's really great. Do you have any upcoming projects or films that you think you're looking forward to?
Yes, Terrifier 4, of course. I'm very excited to see where we go with Terrifier. But as far as coming up this year, definitely the Black Phone 2. I'm really
Mm.
interested in how I haven't watched like they released a trailer, but like I said, I'm not watching anything. So I
Yeah.
don't know how they're gonna do this movie, but I'm very interested. I'm sure it'll be good. Outside of horror, I'm looking forward to Avatar in December. That's this December.
All right. Yeah.
Or 3, yes. I'm a huge Avatar. I saw the first one by myself. I was living by myself in California at the time. I went and saw like 5 times in 3 by myself because I was out there by myself, so there's nothing to really do but go to the movies. So
Yeah.
yeah, huge fan of Avatar, so I'm excited to see that. But as far as more horror goes, I think we're gonna have a huge year next year. Sam Raimi is going back to horror next year with his first film
Right.
since Drag Me to Hell.
Yeah.
It was 2013, I think. So I'm really excited to see that one come out.
Yeah. It's let him cook. Let him just be in his element in that.
Yeah, just let Raimi do Raimi. That's when he's best.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. Like there's so much on the horizon now, and I love that we're getting less information about it in a sense, like like you said with like Jordan Peele and so on. Like I think they're like being better at hiding the ball of like what these movies are and what they can achieve. So like it's a little bit more of a better experience when you finally get to the theater and get to watch them, or at home like yourself, like get to watch
As
them
long
at
as it's
home.
not Blumhouse. If it's a Blumhouse trailer, don't watch it because they're going
Right.
to know everything.
Yeah. There's a lot in
Yeah.
there. And yeah, to sort of wind things up here, over your time with the channel, what has been the most consistent obstacle that you faced with it?
I think the same one that everyone's dealing with is the copyright.
Right.
The copyright is just, it really takes a lot of the fun and creativity, I feel like, out of reactions. Yeah, I would say definitely everything else has really been great, but the copyright is really tough. because you'll spend time editing. Like I don't edit my videos anymore. I did when I started.
Mhm.
Um, but still, just like when you spend so much time on a video, you're having fun editing it, you're having fun putting these things in, and then you upload, and they're like, "Yeah, this is fine." And then 5 hours later, they're like, "Actually, no." And you have to
Yeah.
take it down and do it. So that's definitely been the biggest obstacle. But I think what you have to realize is everyone's going through it.
Mhm.
Some maybe more than others, but either way, from big to small, it's something that we all have to deal with. So you just kind of got to roll with the punches, figure out, it's constantly changing and constantly evolving. And you just kind of have to change and evolve with it too, and not let it get to you too much because it'll definitely drag you down. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I
You
would
gotta.
say really just copyright now. And for me, at least when first starting, just being comfortable on camera because, like I said, I'm not the kind of person I get stage fright. I could never give a speech or anything
Right.
like that. So that was definitely like a huge adjustment for me. But yeah, copyright for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Both totally valid things to
Yeah.
on a day-to-day basis. And how do you feel you've personally sort of grown over your time with the channel?
Definitely with just feeling comfortable, not
Mhm.
only with being on camera, but feeling with comfortable with how I express myself. Some people they might not want to be too strong with their opinions about a certain movie or a character because they're worried about what people might think.
Right.
But I think definitely, like I said earlier, with my community and as much as like I'm interacting with my community almost all day, every day. I have a Discord and we're always just talking and stuff. So having that level of comfort when I'm reacting, I feel like I'm reacting to them. So the strangers don't really make me nervous or get me bothered. So I think that's definitely one thing is just feeling more comfortable on camera to the point where I could just be myself and have fun because really that's one of the main things I said when I started is if I'm going to do something on YouTube, it's going to be something that I love and that I have passion for. So
Mhm.
regardless of how it goes, regardless of how hard it gets, I'm doing something that I love and having fun. October 8th will be my 3rd year anniversary, and that's definitely something that's helped throughout all these 3 years. It's just doing something that I love, which is horror movies.
Yeah, that's great, man. Yeah, congrats on 3 years.
Thank you.
I'm really happy to have you in the space. So it's great to have someone again specifically for horror, just because I love horror. My horror, there's a dog in the background. I love that.
Yeah. As
So
always, making his little cameo.
yeah, hitting all the marks. So.
Yep.
uh, and yeah, this kind of ties into our last question for the main part here. Beyond any monetary or financial value, what has been the most rewarding aspect of the channel for you?
I would say definitely discovering all the movies that I haven't seen outside of because I've said it a few times already, so I don't want to like sound like repeating myself. My
Mhm.
community is
Yeah.
definitely something that I love and cherish the most. But really, yeah, just this exposure to all these horror movies that I didn't know about that I would have never maybe learned about or watched, and some of them I love and they're my favorites, like Deadstream.
Yeah.
Who knows if I would have like been on Shutter looking for something to watch and would have found that movie. So really just the exposure to all the different kinds of horror movies. And also I feel like me being able to be more comfortable on camera and open up is also sort of bled outside of reactions too.
Hmm.
That confidence and that, comfortableness sort of translates outside of it too. So that's also definitely helped. But yeah, I'd say those three things for sure. The community, the abundance of horror movies I've learned about, and just the confidence that I've gained through doing this.
Yeah, it's that's absolutely like some of those qualities that you can carry over into other things. Like even just doing this for a couple of years now has helped me just be able to meet with other people in person and you get a little more comfortable with that. So it's a great learning experience overall, especially for the horror films, like you said, like
Oh
being able
yeah,
to like dedicate yourself and like it's one of those things for reactions specifically. You can watch these movies on your own time, sure, but like, I think the reaction format forces you to sort of really focus in on it and like appreciate it on a whole
it
different
really
level.
does.
Yeah. We do our final questionnaire here that we give everyone, just 10 questions on the line for
All
you.
right.
Some of it can be horror specific if you want, some of it could be general, so just feel free to go with what you want. The first question is, what is your favorite TV show of all time?
Ooh, TV show of all time. Well, I'll say right now I'm one of those reaction channels that's going through Buffy for the first time.
Yes.
And I am in love with both Buffy and Angel. I consider them together like the Buffyverse. So
Yeah.
I would say right now that, but outside of that, I would probably say Breaking Bad.
Yeah, both great picks. Yeah, I'm going to be chatting with another reactor about Buffy, who's going to be finishing it next month. So I'm like, really excited
Ooh,
to have the
fun.
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite film of all time?
So I've said this before, but it's really hard to narrow down my favorite movie. So what I'll say is, as far as like horror franchises go, I would say Nightmare on Elm Street, the
Hmm.
collection, is my favorite franchise. But if I had to pick a horror movie that wasn't part of a franchise or something, I would say The Thing for sure.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the thing. And the next question is, what stresses you out?
Whew, what stresses me out? I don't want to say copyright again, but copyright. But outside of that, really deadlines, I guess.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
Deadlines
a
trying to like, oh, this new movie's coming out and I got to get it out before
yeah,
it's out of the zeitgeist. No one cares about it anymore.
right.
Stuff like that.
Yeah,
But usually, I try to keep myself stress free when it comes to life in general, but YouTube as well.
yeah, yeah. Well, it ties into our next question. What helps you relax?
Funny enough, horror movies, really, or just
Right.
movies in general.
Yeah.
Movies in general. Otherwise, just a nice walk. If I just take my dog outside for a nice walk.
Mhm.
Sometimes, especially those of you that are on your computer a lot like me, because I work from home on my computer
Mhm.
and I do YouTube. So sometimes it really does make a difference just to go outside and get fresh air and
Yes.
just breathe some fresh air a little bit. Just walk around, soak in some sun a little bit, even if it's for like 5-10 minutes. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that as well. Someone who works from home. What hobby or passion outside of TV and film do you have?
um, video games, and I mean, unless you lump it in with TV and film, but anime.
Oh
Video
yeah,
games and
that's
anime
right.
are two of some of the things that I love that I'll consume all the time outside of horror, film and television.
Yeah, a lot of great horror anime out there as well. So
Yes, there is that I'm starting to discover as well. Yeah.
yeah. What is your comfort show or film?
Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, which
That
is
one
also my
specifically?
favorite of the
Yeah.
franchise. But yes, that's just a movie that like it's hard to explain why I love it, but yeah, I think it just makes me I think that's the one that I watched the most growing up
Mhm.
because I was born in 85 and I think that came out like 85, 86 around there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one just the campiness of it all. That one just I could put that on, and that's also a good stress reliever.
Yeah.
Is that movie? Yeah.
Right. It's a great pick. What fictional character do you relate to or just care deeply about?
That I can relate to or care deeply about. I would say now where I'm at now in life, I see myself relating to a lot of father figures,
Mhm.
being a dad now and stuff. So like Hopper and Stranger Things.
Right. Yeah.
That's definitely a character that I'm like because I can relate to them so much, and I get that. I get what they're going through and the things they're thinking versus maybe like 15 years ago before I had kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I
That
would
makes a lot
definitely
of sense.
say probably Hopper from like Stranger Things or similar characters to that is sort of like a parental figure trying to navigate, the situation that they're new to for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's a lot of that going on. I think recently, like The Last of Us.
Yes, yes, stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, characters like that are ones that really get me.
Yeah. What show or film gave you your favorite reaction experience with the channel?
Ooh. Immediately my mind went to Deadstream.
Hmm.
But I'm trying to well, technically, so the movie, I think it's called The Host, or is it Host? There's so many,
Uh,
there's like 5 different ones.
yeah.
But it's the one where that was shot during the pandemic
Oh
on
yeah.
the
Host.
laptop screens. That one still to this day has the most jump scares in my reactions with like 30 something jump scares, which is insane. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Again,
even
that's a really
like
great one. Yeah.
yeah, usually like it doesn't even get close to that many. So I feel like that one's definitely one of the ones that I think is fun to watch. That's really fun
Yeah.
just to see
Yeah. It's a great
chop.
one. Similar to Deadstream. It's a great one for YouTubers specifically. You're on your camera. You feel like you're one of the people in there.
Exactly, yeah.
What show or film do you wish you could erase from your memory and react to again for the first time on camera?
Oh, it would definitely be probably The Thing.
The thing, yeah,
Probably The Thing, just the shock of that scene, you know what I'm talking about when it first happens, the defibrillator scene?
yeah,
Oh, man, I couldn't imagine because I saw that when I was so young, so growing up, like, I don't even know what my initial reaction was to that,
right,
seeing it so
yeah,
many times. Yeah, so that's definitely one that I think would be fun to just do the whole Men in Black mind wipe thing and watch over again and react to. That would be great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a lot of great reactions out there to it, so you can potentially enjoy it through there.
Oh yeah, I'm very jealous. I see them all, I'm like, I wish I could watch that for the first time.
Yeah. And the final question we have here is, what advice would you give to your past self if you go back in time when you first started the channel?
um, Definitely that you can't control how fast you're gonna grow. I sort of had in my mind like, okay, I'm just gonna go really hard, and then I'm sure I can get here. Um, Everyone grows at a different pace. It doesn't have anything necessarily to do with you personally. It's just, it's just how it is. There's thousands, if not more, reaction channels out there, let alone YouTube channels. So, you just have to, and that's why I wanted to do something that I would have fun with. So regardless, it's not going to be a problem. So yeah, definitely just to remind myself, because even every now and then I got to remind myself, don't worry about, how fast you're growing. You're having fun doing what you're doing. That's all that matters. So yeah, I would definitely say just be on the lookout for copyright and don't worry about how fast you're going to grow.
Yeah, both sage advice, I think, for
Yes.
any channel. So keep in mind, new or old. Yeah, so large or small. Chance, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you coming on to chat with me. Again, as a fan of the horror genre, you're one of my favorite guys out there doing it every day. So I really appreciate your work.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course. Where can we find you on social media, on YouTube, anywhere otherwise?
Yes, Chance's House of Horror on YouTube. It is Chance's. I know a lot of people put Chance House of Horror, but either way, it should pull up. But it's that all across all social media. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter X, whatever they call it these days. Yeah, those three, Chance's House of Horror, definitely follow me on there. I'm going to start posting a lot more images on Instagram, especially of my horror collection stuff that I've started collecting. And we do post like daily stuff on TikTok, different shorts and stuff on there. But
Good.
Chance's House of Horror all around, and yeah, you can find me there.
Good healthy rotation of the platforms.
Yes.
To utilize. You can find me at Necronic across social media. You can find us at the Reactorverse across social media as well. You find us at our links in our Patreon and Discord down below. And we'll catch you on the next episode.
Bye.